hydroponic system. As you know, the world is getting more and more polluted and began desertification, and because of this we don't have much land and water to grow crops or vegetables we eat to survive. And if not considering pollution problem, growing plants without limit of land would be very efficient and economic. Therefore, we found the answer is hydroponic system. And what's the hydroponic system? Hydroponic system is a method which enables us to grow plants without water and without soil. And like in this picture, you can grow plants massively with this. And because water and nutrition, the solution of nutrition which need to growing are all in control of us, so it is very efficient and economic. And these are 6 basic types of hydroponic system.
The first system is the wick system, which is this one right over here. And the way this works is there are wicks that go into this water, which is filled with solution, which is nutrients for the plants. And it's basically the wick sucks up the nutrients into this area where the plant's roots are placed. And there's this air pump that goes into the solution to keep on producing oxygen, because plants need oxygen as well as water. Next. Second one is water culture, and this system is done in a similar way. The roots are basically submerged into the water with solution, and this air pump pumps oxygen to the roots. And this is a very efficient way of hydroponics that's used very commonly. Next. EBB and flow. This is a flooding system. What happens is this pump pushes up the nutrients and water into this tank where the plants are rested. And this tube right here, basically once it reaches the top of this point, it flows back down into the original container. And drip system, basically this is a very simple model. There's many variations of this, but it basically, you drip water onto the plants and then it drains back down to the container. And in this container there's also an air stone which produces oxygen for the plants. Thanks. And then NFT, nutrient film technique, and this is a flow system. Basically the plants you can see here are kind of, this part right here is higher up, so the water flows down and drains back into the first container, and this pump here basically drips water into the container where the roots are settled. And last, this is like the most expensive way of hydroponics. It requires very expensive equipment, which is this nutrient pump. Basically, this pump sprays water, like kind of like a steam of nutrients to the roots, and this way the roots are able to get the right amount of oxygen and nutrients at the same time, whereas the other hydroponic systems don't produce enough oxygen for the roots. This is a little clip that we got off of Google. So these days hydroponic systems are used mostly outside, but in greenhouses, which is basically a house falling down. You can produce pretty much any kind of vegetable or plant. In Korea, they're actually currently in the process of making hydroponic systems for ginseng. And the beauty of hydroponic systems are you can basically produce plants any time around the year, even during the winter. And also plants that are grown in hydroponic systems, they take about 60% or 40% less time to grow, and they come out a lot more healthier and bigger than they would if you grew them outside. Also, you wouldn't have to worry about spraying pesticides onto your plants because they're usually grown indoors, so you don't have to really worry about bugs. Basically what they do is they mimic the temperature and all the right variables to produce the best crops. Hydroponic systems can be used pretty much anywhere as long as you have the right materials, I guess you could say. There's a picture here where they have a greenhouse and they use hydroponic systems on top of this boat kind of thing, or a dock, I guess. Usually, nowadays they use greenhouses to make hydroponics because it's a lot cheaper, but later on in the future we hope that we can produce buildings like this. These are pictures that what the future might hold for us, with buildings that just produce enough crops to feed a whole city. Right now in Colombia, they're doing experiments on hydroponic systems, and they are trying to find a way to basically feed all of New York with the crops that they make in one building.
It stands for Certified Emission Reduction, which is known as carbon credit trade, as you know. I'll explain the opinions and stance of the developed country, and he will present the opinion about developing country. The first, their opinion is carbon credit trading will benefit the developing countries. At this time, some developing countries and like China, India, or Korea doesn't aggressively in this system, but developed countries say they can. Developing country can make money by taking advantage of CDM, which called this system. CDM is kind of a system that can develop country make some system that can help decrease the pollution in the environment. This can be considered as a way to save the environment. So they can get money from developing country, can get money from the developed country, and directly they can the developing country can make money by selling carbon credit, and mainly they are main victims of global warming, such as Africa or South America. So the developed countries say that developing country is the most the country who benefit from carbon credits. So developed countries say that developing countries should join this system, and they are also insist that there are a few countries adapting the carbon credit program. There are two nations that adapt this CER program wholly nationwidely. They are two, EU and New Zealand. Some like in Korea, in Seoul, and the eastern part of US doing this carbon credit system, but it's not nationwidely. So as long as such as the big carbon producer like US and Japan, as long as they don't join the program, the other developed countries say that they don't have to join this system. And they are also, you can see the chart, you can see the information. United States and Japan counts for almost a quarter of the whole carbon emitting in the world. And the corporate in the developed countries say that it will increase the chance of economic crisis, because apart from the amount reduction, they have to get they actually have to pay some money to government to make some product that make carbon during the process, it will lead to the increase in the price of the product, which will result in the economic crisis. And developed country also insist that developing country are also need to join this system, because they cannot, developing country cannot take the advantage of their position, the developing country. China and India are also one of the biggest carbon emitting countries, but they take advantage of their position and they don't join the system. But they are, you can see in the chart is very unclear, but they count for about 20% of the whole carbon in the world. So the developed country also insists that the developing countries such as China and India has to join this system.
Okay, I'll explain the CER program at the position of developing country. Developed country have used all the resources as much as they want. In process, they grow up. After that, they say it is better to regulate the resource uses or protect the environment. It is nonsense because they already used up, and it is only small part of the rest that developing country can use. According to IEA, in 2010, the emission of carbon dioxide in USA, China, and India is over the half of the total amount in worldwide. They quit the Kyoto compliance to protect their industry. You might think China is a developing country, but I think China has developed enough to be a developed country and have a global power. The quit of the USA and Japan from Kyoto compliance, that means a global powerful country make an international rule by themselves. We talk about the problem about how we distribute the CER and regulate the amount of emission. They make a rule based on the total amount emission up to now. However, if they keep the rule, developed country get more CER because they already emitted much carbon dioxide. They do not care that developing country need more CER in developing process. Many global companies have made a big money through the CER. It is certain that developing country need more carbon emission, and developed country need relatively less CER. Therefore, developed country could have additional CER and they can sell to developing country. Through this process, developed country can get a big money. This picture is about market size of CER in Europe. It become bigger dramatically.
Ian? A question about that last graph. That was a stock exchange?
Yes.
So it was getting bigger, it looked like it was getting smaller.
This picture is stock price, but
dramatically decreased.
yes, this means market size.
Oh, okay.
Market size is growing.
Okay, but what's that one? That price? Just take a guess.
That
Is it the price, do you think?